In the farthest reaches of the Andromeda Galaxy, on a shimmering planet called Xyrix, a group of alien scientists from the Zarnith species gathered around a holographic projection of Earth. These beings, towering with translucent skin that pulsed with light, were deeply curious about human behavior. For centuries, they had observed from afar, marveling at Earth's peculiar life forms and the equally peculiar beings that inhabited it. Today, their focus was on a particular phenomenon that had left them collectively bewildered. The leader of the group, Zarlek, projected a scene captured from Earth. On the hologram, a human was crouched on the ground, gently scratching the head of a massive feline predator known on Earth as a lion. The lion, which could easily maul the human in an instant, appeared docile, its eyes half-closed in sheer bliss. The human, completely unfazed by the beast's lethal potential, spoke in soothing tones. "Who's a good kitty?" "Yes, you are." Zarlek turned to the group, his bioluminescent eyes flickering in disbelief. "Can anyone explain this?" These creatures, humans, seemed to have no regard for their safety. Another alien, Tilnak, raised a tentacle, gesturing toward a different hologram. This one displayed a human approaching a massive, spiked reptilian creature called a crocodile. The human, armed with nothing but a stick, calmly tapped the reptile's snout and muttered, "Easy there, buddy." The crocodile, instead of snapping its jaws, merely blinked and sank back into the water. "They call it petting," Tilnak explained. "Apparently, humans will attempt to bond with nearly anything. It defies logic." The room erupted in a cacophony of blinking lights and hums of astonishment. Zarlek switched the hologram to yet another scene, a human holding a massive tarantula in their palm. The human seemed fascinated, running a finger along the creature's fuzzy back. The spider, by all appearances, remained calm, almost as if it enjoyed the attention. The human whispered, "You're just a little guy, aren't you?" The Zarnith scientists leaned closer, their bodies glowing a deep shade of intrigue. "Even creatures with venom potent enough to kill them," muttered Zarlek, "and yet, humans pet them." Tilnak added, "It gets stranger. Observe this." The hologram now displayed a human on a nature hike, suddenly pausing to scoop up a small, venomous snake. The human inspected the creature with curiosity, giving it a gentle pat before releasing it back into the wild. A collective gasp swept through the room. "Do they lack survival instincts entirely?" one of the younger aliens, Zorol, asked. Zarlek shook his head. "It's more complex than that. From our observations, humans possess an extraordinary desire to connect with other life forms, even at great personal risk. They seem to derive immense satisfaction from these interactions, and in many cases, their touch appears to have a calming effect on the creatures they encounter." Zorol projected a clip of a human standing amidst a herd of elephants. The towering mammals encircled the tiny figure, their trunks reaching out. The human, far from frightened, extended their arms, allowing the elephants to explore. The human laughed, a sound that echoed with genuine joy. "What drives them?" Zarlek wondered aloud. "It is as though they believe their touch carries a universal language." The scientists pondered in silence, their luminous forms flickering rhythmically. Finally, Tilnak spoke again, his tone reverent. "Perhaps they are not reckless. Perhaps they have discovered something we have yet to understand. A kind of harmony, a bridge between species." Zarlek nodded. "It seems their capacity for empathy transcends their fear. They trust the unknown and seek to comfort it." At that moment, a new hologram appeared, showing a human gently cradling a fragile, injured bird. The human's hands moved with utmost care, their face etched with concern. They whispered softly, and though the bird could not understand the words, it nestled into the human's palm. The Zarnith gathered in a circle, their light patterns now synchronized. They had studied countless species across galaxies, but humans had unveiled a new enigma, a profound, almost magical trait. It was as if their ability to bond with life itself, regardless of danger or difference, was a superpower. Zarlek finally broke the silence. "We have much to learn from these humans. They do not merely survive among the creatures of their world. They thrive in communion with them. This is their strength. And so, the Zarnath made a collective decision. They would continue their study, but now they sought not to understand humans in isolation, but to learn from them. Perhaps, they thought, if they could harness the power of connection, their own species might unlock deeper bonds across the cosmos.
With renewed focus, the Zarnath scientists expanded their observations. They delved deeper into the vast archives of human behavior, compiling scenes that defied all logic and reason. They watched as humans gently handled creatures as delicate as butterflies, their fingers moving with reverence as though afraid to damage something so fragile. They observed humans rescuing stranded whales, risking their lives to push the colossal beings back into the ocean, speaking words of encouragement despite knowing the whales could never understand. The Zarnath collected footage of humans interacting with animals most species would consider hostile or entirely alien. In one clip, a human sat in a rainforest, quietly observing an enormous silverback gorilla. Despite the sheer strength of the primate, which could crush the human in an instant, the two simply sat together, an unspoken understanding passing between them. In another scene, a human knelt by a wild wolf, carefully removing a thorn from its paw. The wolf growled softly at first but soon quieted, its sharp eyes meeting the humans in a moment of silent gratitude. As days turned to weeks, the Zarnath began noticing something even more peculiar. Humans didn't limit their affection to organic creatures. They extended their touch to machines, inanimate objects, and even structures. In one clip, a human lovingly polished an old, rusted vehicle, speaking to it as if it were a beloved companion. In another, a human embraced a tree, pressing their face against its bark with closed eyes, whispering words of appreciation for its presence. Tylnock pointed to one particularly puzzling scene. They even pet rocks, he announced, his voice tinged with disbelief. The projection showed a human sitting by a river, carefully rubbing a smooth, round stone and remarking on its texture. The human seemed genuinely delighted, as though the stone were an old friend. Zoruel raised a tentacle, his lights pulsing in a pattern of amusement. I have observed them petting objects that serve no biological function whatsoever. Consider this. He displayed a human holding a stuffed animal, a facsimile of a bear. The human hugged it tightly, stroking its artificial fur as though it were alive. Zalek's light flickered with contemplation. It appears humans possess an innate need to form connections, regardless of whether their counterpart is sentient, animate, or even real. The Zarnath began to experiment, inspired by their studies. They crafted lifelike models of Earth creatures, replicas of cats, dogs, and birds, and observed their own responses to interacting with them. At first, they were skeptical, finding little meaning in the act of touch. But slowly, as they mimicked the human's gentle gestures, they began to experience a strange sense of tranquility. One day, Zalek proposed a bold idea. We must interact with the humans directly. If we are to truly understand their ways, we must experience their world firsthand. This suggestion was met with mixed reactions. Some of the Zarnath were hesitant, fearing the unpredictability of human behavior. But curiosity outweighed their concerns. A delegation was formed, and with great caution, they descended to Earth, disguising their presence to avoid panic. Their landing site was a serene forest, chosen for its isolation. The Zarnath emerged, their forms shimmering under the canopy of ancient trees. As they adjusted to Earth's atmosphere, they were greeted not by humans, but by animals, a curious fox, a watchful owl, and a family of deer. The creatures, sensing no threat, approached the aliens cautiously. Zalek extended a translucent limb, mimicking the gentle movements he had seen in humans. To his astonishment, the fox stepped closer, allowing itself to be touched. Over the next few days, the Zarnath observed the forest's inhabitants and slowly began to understand the profound bond humans shared with their world. They saw how life on Earth was interconnected, each species playing a role in the planet's delicate balance. They even began to develop their own version of what humans called petting, a careful interaction that seemed to bridge the gap between alien and animal. Then, the inevitable happened. A human stumbled upon the Zarnath delegation. The man, a forest ranger, froze at the sight of the glowing, otherworldly beings. But instead of running in fear, he did something that shocked even the Zarnath. Slowly, cautiously, he extended his hand in a universal gesture of peace. The Zarnath hesitated, exchanging pulses of light as if to confirm their next action. Finally, Zalek extended his limb, meeting the human's hand with a soft, deliberate touch. In that moment, the forest ranger smiled. "Well, aren't you something?" he said, his voice calm. "Don't worry, I won't hurt you." The Zarnath delegation was stunned. This human, faced with beings entirely foreign to his world, had responded not with fear, but with an instinctive gesture of connection. It was then they realized the depth of human empathy extended even beyond their own species. When the delegation returned to Zurich, they carried with them not just data, but a profound new understanding. The human's capacity to pet anything, to form bonds with life in all its forms, was not a mere quirk of their biology. It was a philosophy, a way of being that transcended logic and spoke to the very essence of existence. In the grand halls of Zurich, the Zarnath shared their findings with their entire civilization. They spoke of the human's fearless pursuit of connection, their boundless empathy, and their ability to find beauty in the smallest, simplest forms of life. And from that day forward, the Zarnath sought to embrace the same spirit of unity, spreading their newfound wisdom across the stars.